This afternoon, we're visiting with Archdeacon Jeannie Beyer. Jeannie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in the Midwest and moved to Tallahassee 13 years ago. Kansas City is my home, and I have a daughter still in the Kansas City area. And then a real exciting thing is our son and his family from Miami just moved here 2 weeks ago to Tallahassee, so we're thrilled about that.
What led you to want to become a deacon?
I believe I was called by God, and I may have shared this story with you before. At 17, I really believed that God was calling me to be a nun. And I know that's a laugh now when you think how fast I talk and how fast I would walk, that you couldn't see me in a convent. But I truly believe this is what God wanted me to do until I told my Presbyterian mother, who said, "Can't you love God and have children too?" And she was right. So back then, nuns were the only women you saw in ministry. So I went and got married to Phil, and we had children. And one day when they were old enough to be on their own more, I woke up and realized that that pounding in my heart that I felt at 17 was still pounding. And so I decided, I'm just going to go take hospital ministry class because I want to help people. But it was in that training that my supervisor said, "Jeannie, what are you doing here? I really think you need to explore that God might be calling you to the ordained ministry." And so this time, it was kind of like, you can run, but you can't hide. If it's a real call from God, He's going to find you until you finally say, "Here I am, Lord." And that's what I did. I was ordained in Kansas City on Valentine's Day of 1998, 23 years ago almost. So your answer is God.
All right. Well, what are some of the responsibilities of a deacon?
Deacons take ordination vows to serve all people. It's primarily a servant ministry, and we are especially supposed to serve the forgotten, the lonely, the sick, the poor, and the needy. And much of what I have done over the years is try and live those vows out to the best of my ability. I served at the homeless mission in Tallahassee for 7 years, and before that, we did 10 years of missionary work in Haiti, and I worked in the Good Samaritan field long before people were, back when people were dying of AIDS, not just learning to live with AIDS. There was a time when Phil and I were in Northeast Kansas City trying to get prostitutes off the streets. So all of those are things that really speak to my heart, that I think that that I am led to do those things because that's what deacons are supposed to be about.
Well, you're also an archdeacon. Now, what differences or additional responsibilities does that involve?
An archdeacon is a diocesan position, and the bishop asked me 10 years ago to be his archdeacon, which at the time was a real surprise to me because at that time most archdeacons were priests. So I accepted his offer, asked him what an archdeacon does, and he says, "You write your job description and tell me." So what I do is I serve as a liaison between the bishop and the deacon community. If they have problems in their churches, I try and offer pastoral care. So I oversee the deacon community. I was on COM for a long time, which is the Commission on Ministry, and helped people discern their call to holy orders. And now a friend of mine and I co-facilitate the deacon training throughout the diocese, which is a year and a half long academic piece, but it's about a three-year program, and that's part of what I do. We just started our deacons class last week, so we're off and running.
Well, I imagine that the pandemic has affected your class start, as well as other duties that you have. How has that affected you?
The pandemic has required me to be a little bit more comfortable with technology, which is not my strong suit. I miss being able to be with the people in the hospital or to be present for them when they're going through some kind of crisis. The pandemic has meant that a lot of the ministry is being done by FaceTime and by Zoom meetings. We've started our group at church on Zoom, which at first I resisted, but it's really not that different once you have all of you up on a screen and can see each other's faces. We did start deacon school on Zoom this week because Camp Weed is closed, and we may be on Zoom for the whole fall. We'll have to see how that plays out. I think the hardest part is trying to counsel people on FaceTime. It's the best we can do right now, but I think the humbling thing for me through all of this is I feel like I need to be with these people. This is what I'm called to be. This is what I want to be doing. But ultimately, it's not me that needs to be with the people. It's God who needs and is and will forever be with them. And I'm grateful I can count on that.
Well, I'm sure that has been challenging for you and also for others who are learning how to use the new technology and still try to feel close to each other.
Yeah.
Is there a particular scripture that you call on to comfort yourself from time to time?
Recently, I was talking to a lady who was in a very scary place in her life, and I suggested to her that she might find the 23rd Psalm comforting. And then I realized I might find the 23rd Psalm comforting. And so on the days that are the most challenging, I have been reminding myself that, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me.
I can see why that is such a comforting piece of scripture, and one that we often find printed in funeral services. Well, let's think about something different for a minute. What's on your bucket list after we get past this pandemic?
My answer before the pandemic would have been different than it is today. My bucket list is very, very simple. The thing I would love the most is to be able to be with and spend time with my daughter. And the other thing is I would like to go back to the Rocky Mountains when I spent several years as newlyweds, and I would like to go back to some of those trails and just be up in that Rocky Mountain air.
Thank you very much, Jeannie, for sharing with us. And I want you to know how blessed we are at Holy Comforter to have you as part of our clergy.
Thank you. I'm